How can we please God? Does he prefer we do outward acts of praise, or does he prefer that we are obedient to him in our hearts? Well, that's the question posed in 1 Samuel after Saul disobeyed God's commands and then tried to seek his favor. Let's read and learn more about God's stance on disobedience in our hearts through an example in the Old Testament. Stay tuned. First Samuel 15:22-23 reads, Samuel said, "Does the Lord have as much delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of the Lord? Behold, to obey is better than a sacrifice, and to pay attention is better than the fat of rams. For rebellion is as reprehensible as the sin of divination, and insubordination is as reprehensible as false religion and idolatry. Since you have rejected the word of the Lord, he has also rejected you from being king." These were the words from Samuel to Saul after the rebellion in his heart. So what we can see is in Israel, there's an example as well where God gives them commands. And so let's look at Exodus 23. "For my angel will go before you and bring you into the land of the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Canaanites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, and I will completely destroy them. You shall not worship their gods, nor serve them, nor do according to their deeds, but you shall utterly overthrow them and break their memorial stones in pieces. I will set your boundary from the Red Sea to the Sea of the Philistines, and from the wilderness to the Euphrates River, for I will hand over the inhabitants of the land to you, and you will drive them out from you. You shall make no covenant with them or with their gods. They shall not live in your land, otherwise they will make you sin against me, for if you serve their gods, it is certain to be a snare to you." Some background on Exodus 23 is that we have Israel, they're leaving slavery in Egypt, and they're now coming to the promised land. And so God is giving them some ideas on what to expect there. And he gives them a command. And the command is, "You shall not worship their gods, nor serve them, nor do according to their deeds, but you shall utterly overthrow them and break their memorial stones in pieces. And you will drive them out from you." Basically, don't be like them. Don't try to live like them. Don't live among them. And the reason for the commandment is, otherwise they will make you sin against me, that is God. For if you serve their gods, it is certain to be a snare to you. And so what God is telling his people is that you need to avoid the others, those who do not worship me, and avoid those so that you can stay holy, so that you can serve me, because they will corrupt you. And why? Well, of course, in 1 Corinthians 15:33, the Apostle Paul tells us that bad company corrupts good morals. So by spending time with those who are making bad decisions, they will most likely corrupt us. And so then Psalm 106, we can see what happens later for Israel. "They did not destroy the peoples as the Lord had commanded them, but they got involved with the nations and learned their practices and served their idols, which became a snare to them. They even sacrificed their sons and their daughters to the demons and shed innocent blood, the blood of their sons and their daughters, whom they sacrificed to the idols of Canaan, and the land was defiled with the blood. So they became unclean in their practices and were unfaithful in their deeds." And so we can see that Israel, in fact, did not do as God commanded, and they suffered the penalties for that. So the consequences were because of disobedience. We could see that even in Genesis, Adam and Eve lost paradise. Even more, they lost the relationship with God they had before, where they could walk among him. Now there was a separation between him and them, and there was death. We can also see that because of disobedience, Saul lost his kingdom. He was no longer able to be king eventually because of the disobedience in his heart. And here we see the people of Israel lost God's blessing, their land, and their freedom. So the conclusion today about disobedience, of course, is that we must, as the title suggests, destroy it in our hearts. Let's destroy disobedience. Let's get it out of our lives. Let's learn to obey our good God, for he has our best interests at heart. Let's believe that he is in control, that he knows, can, and wants the best for us. Let's listen to him through reading his word, through learning about him, through learning about his will for our lives. And let us be obedient and not disobedient. I pray this reflection finds you well. God bless, and see you soon.